Hello and welcome to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Rich, and as the founder of the Bold Life Movement and a fellow coach for more than 7 years, I know the challenges that many of you face when launching or growing your coaching business. And I'm here to pull back the curtain on the coaching industry and help you overcome roadblocks to make the impact you were born to make. Each week, I'll be interviewing successful coaches from every corner of the industry to share exactly how they have managed to generate massive impact and income. From strategy to psychology, we cover it all. This show is presented to you by Transformation Academy, a global marketplace of courses and coaching certifications. So whether you are already part of our epic community or you're brand new to this show, if you're ready to learn what it takes to turn your passion for service into a profitable business, then keep listening. You are in the right place. Welcome back to our 7-figure series of the Profitable Coach Podcast. Today is episode 31 with Mariah Butler. And in today's conversation, we talk about how Mariah was able to build up a 7-figure business with her husband and then turn around and apply the same principles inside of her very own coaching business. We share how she used the principles of feminine energetics, leveraging your life force energy, and really trusting your intuition in conjunction with some real world strategies to call in clients, to grow her business, and to feel really fulfilled throughout the entire process. So if that is something that you are into, then without further ado, please welcome the one and only Mariah Butler. Hey guys, real quick before you start the podcast episode, I wanted to let you know about a very special promotion that we're running just for the month of February, just while we're doing the 7-figure series. You know, one of the things that you'll notice as you listen to the episodes in this series is that every single person I'm interviewing has one thing in common. It's their ability to master their mindset. It's their ability to shift their beliefs around abundance, around what's possible for them, and around what it takes to really bring that to life. So in the spirit of helping you to become a master of your mindset, we wanted to offer you a 50% discount on any of our mindset certification courses. So if you want to take advantage, head to theprofitablecoach.com/mindset and grab your discounted certification now. With that, enjoy the episode. Hello. Welcome back to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I'm joined by the one and only Mariah Butler today. Mariah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Kimberly. I'm really excited to see where this conversation goes today.
Yeah, I was super excited to connect with Mariah because I know that she has managed to create 7-figure success in multiple different avenues and is now helping clients who are in the 6-figure mark to really figure out how to create repeatable monthly incomes so that they're not spending too much time in their head and they're masculine. And like for those female business owners, they have the opportunity to really stay in the feminine and listen to their intuition in their business with the support of structures like funnels. So before we dive into the nitty-gritty, Mariah, take it back and let me know, like, what was your catalyst for coaching? How did this even come onto your radar?
Such a good question. It's funny because there's so many different things, right? I'm sure it's the same with everybody. There's so many different things that ultimately led to being on this path I'm on now. And one of the first things was really just growing up and having really hardworking parents and just seeing them work their asses off and recognizing that, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to live like that. And I appreciate so much all that they did for me. And like, it just wasn't for me, and had multiple of my own kind of like normal job experiences where I was like, yeah, no, this is not for me. I got pneumonia during my first like 12-hour shift job. And I was like, okay, this is a very clear sign from my body that this is not my direction. So I went 100%. To college for graphic design, thinking that that would let me kind of travel and do what I want, when I want, where I want. And while I was there, I ended up studying abroad in Australia for a year, had an internship with entrepreneurs at a startup, and was like, this is what I want to do.
I love that. Yeah, it's nice to think back to those small decisions that end up changing everything, right?
100%. Yeah. And it was just, it's all been so synchronistic since that. I met someone who had a network marketing company and ended up joining that, kind of got into coaching that way where, I had my own team. So I was coaching them, in a way for free all the time. And then a year or two later, I learned, wait, I can just get paid for this part? Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
And so the network marketing company that you worked for, was it something that, you still get to participate in today? Is that the business that you built up with your husband? How does that play into the coaching that you guys do now?
Yeah, so it really just gave me a super solid foundation of business experience, marketing experience, customer relationships, and social media, like all of the different pieces that go into a business. And then I was really lucky and just happened to be in connection with and in the same town as Russell Brunson and people who work with him, and learned about ClickFunnels and all those things, and was mind blown again of like, wait, not only can I get paid for coaching, but I can set up like automations and funnels so that I'm not having to kind of be in this vibe of like chasing people, which is what it felt like in network marketing. And I can just let the people come to me. And I do still have that network marketing business, but it's not something that I'm actively pursuing anymore. It's something I'm more just getting residual income from what I built up for 6 years. And yeah, there's a few other pieces, but
yeah,
I'll give you
I love
a second
that
to respond if you want to say anything.
I love that. So the ClickFunnels community is actually a really big part of how I got my start in my coaching business as well. Christian Martin, who we had on last week's episode talking about the AI entrepreneur, he and I were in a ClickFunnels mastermind together. So I love connecting deeper with the female heart-centered coaches, because it was really hard for me to be in that hyper masculine community for so long and stay connected to my feminine, pleasure seeking side of business. And so I'm curious, how do you merge the two so seamlessly?
I'm so glad that you asked this, because this is a conversation my husband and I are having all the time. So it was like a couple years into this phase that I was just mentioning that I met my husband, and he was absolutely obsessed with Qigong, meditation, tantra, and really these like sexual energetic practices. And I had never heard of any of that before. I did meditation a bit. I had done some personal development things like around that, but never to the depth that he was. And when I saw his obsession, I was like, this needs to be a business. And it's really, really easy for him to kind of mirror Russell Brunson's energy. And so we learned very quickly that it's like, okay, we can handle this in doses. Like, this is not our 100% North Star. This is our like, maybe top 5, top 10% that we're using as like our kind of guideposts. And then a majority of what we're consuming and taking in is actually from much more spiritual, grounded, slow, pleasure-filled people. And it's not because there's anything wrong with his style. It's just, we always say like, binging Russell Brunson feels like being on crack.
Yes. I've been there. I've been to the events.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just a lot.
Even if you look at the style, I'm getting into the nitty gritty right now. For those of you who are in the ClickFunnels community that are listening to this, like, you're going to really appreciate this. But even if you look at the style of the landing pages that are high converting, even if you go look at, shout out Christian, if you go look at his website, digitalnomad.com right now, and you look at a very highly converting sales page, it's a different energy. And yet it does very, very well for him. He's hit the 2 Comma Club multiple times, multiple 7 figures. And so I think that there's a market for that, and there's a time and a place for that. But if you know at your heart, at your core, that you derive inspiration and you derive a feeling of prosperity from being in a different frequency, then really making it like an 80-20 thing. balancing the masculine with the feminine, balancing the practical with the spiritual, etc. So I'm curious then, when you shifted over to coaching from the network marketing business that you'd had, what did the early days look like for you? Much of our audience are brand new coaches, so I'd love to paint like a realistic picture of what your journey has been.
I'm so glad that you're asking this question, and it's something that I'm really trying to be conscious of as I start to let myself be seen in this bigger space of entrepreneurship and business. It's only been in really the last year that I've started to feel more comfortable speaking to like 6 and 7 figure earners.
Yeah.
And that's because I've been in entrepreneurship for 9 years in various ways, and a majority of that was struggling. A majority of that was doing 12 different things to try to make ends meet, because I was like, I don't want to get a normal job, but I have to find a way to make this work. So let me test out health coaching. Let me test out life coaching. Let me test out marketing. Let me test out graphic design, freelancing. Like, I tried it all. And then I stepped away for a few years.
Yeah.
And I've just been coming back in the last year or so with my own offers of like, okay, I feel like I've rooted and grounded all that I've learned over the last almost decade now. And I can bring this forward in a more powerful way than in a frantic, oh my gosh, how do I pay my bills way.
And so what was the shift that happened during that hiatus? Because I can relate. I came in, Mariah and I are new friends, so I'll give you a little bit of context, Mariah. I launched the Bold Life movement in 2015 and was running that for about 4 years, and then decided to step away to just take a break from doing things online. I was like, I want to be in front of people. I got a job in the travel industry where I was basically going to lead retreats full time. And then COVID hit, and I was like, oh, F, what's my identity? And last year, the Transformation Academy founders, Joelle and Natalie, found me, and I found them. And it was like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful match made in heaven. I get to come back to coaching. They get to kind of step out of the business and not be the face of it anymore. And so much growth happened in that hiatus. So I'm curious what that rebirth looked like for you. Like, what shifted?
Yeah, 100%. A big part of it was actually allowing myself to shift into that feminine trusting that everything I built up to that point, which was running very well. Like, because I had learned the Russell Brunson stuff from day one with the business I started with my husband, the tantra business, we always had a funnel. We always had consistent clients coming in, consistent social media posts, bringing people into us. So we had very reliable, consistent 5 and 6 figure months for years. But internally, I still didn't feel safe. Internally, I was still like, in that panic, stress, scared, scarcity mode.
Yeah.
And what I was doing during the couple year period of like burnout essentially was really working on my own nervous system, doing lots of different womb healing things, working with my own sexual energy, getting into the practices even more deeply that we teach our students on that side, in the energetic sexual energy side of things, and just nurturing my body as much as possible, prioritizing me instead of prioritizing the business. And I felt safe to do that because I kept seeing this pattern repeated in so many other leaders, especially feminine leaders, of like, I've built this massive success. And then 6 months to a year or two later, it comes out of like, I was actually really burnt out at that time, and now I'm rebuilding everything. And recognizing that I had the opportunity to just rebuild myself now because I have the business that's stable. It's fine. It doesn't need me. It's running on its own. Prioritize myself.
Yeah. I'm so grateful you brought that up, because I saw that so much around 2018, 19. So many of the big leaders that I was following in the coaching space that were selling the dream life, dream biz model came out of the coaching burnout closet and kind of shared what their journey had been and how much they were struggling. So I think that it's really good to just highlight that for anyone who's listening now who feels like what they're seeing might be people's highlight reels. I think if that's what your gut's telling you, it might be true. And so find people to look to as mentors who have already been through the public burnout phase so that they can speak to you from the other side. So I'm curious, I love leveraging energetics, leveraging sexual energy. And so I'm curious if you could give some basics or fundamentals about that for our audience who are like, what are they talking about?
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's always fun to get to talk about that side of things too. So something that I like to say all the time is that, sexual energy and creative energy are life force. Sexual energy will amplify whatever's already there. And so a lot of times the majority of people that we work with is actually men. And most of the time they're wanting to overcome premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, other sexual dysfunctions. And so something that I really love to share in these contexts is that whatever's already present, if there's lots of scarcity, if there's lots of fear, if there's lots of pain, if there's lots of shadow, working with your sexual energy is going to amplify that. And so in our process, we always walk people through clearing first and then building circulating sexual energy, circulating sexual energy, because it's just such a more grounded, holistic way to go about that. And so, yeah, I would say first, if any of that is coming up for you, like clear first.
What does clearing look like?
There's so many different ways. It could be doing like a rage dance, like letting emotions, feelings out. It could be screaming into a pillow. It could be punching, kicking. Those are all kind of one side of emotions.
Yeah.
It could be crying. It could be really letting yourself sob. We have we really focus on a Taoist path. Lots of different practices that specifically work with the different organs in the body, and they all have different colors. They see the organs in the body as a family. So if one organ is bullying the other, if one organ is being louder than all the rest and squishing all the others and not letting them speak and have an equal voice at the table, it's going to come out in different ways, and they all have different emotions attached to them. And so we walk people through that cycle of here's how you clear that and get your inner family in harmony again.
Wow. And so this is, just to be clear for the audience, this is the business that you have with your partner, that you're helping men to learn how to harness and purify and generate their sexual energy, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Our super fun little, slogan that we came up with a few years ago was mastering your sexual energy to manifest your ideal life. So it's like refining that sexual energy to bring in the abundance, to bring in the perfect partner, to bring in the travel, whatever people are wanting to create in their lives.
I love it. And so connect the dots for, again, people who might just be new to this concept, how the power of your sexual energy and applying it in a very specific way can yield 3D results. How does that work?
I hope that I can come up with a really great comparison here. I'm like, come on, brain. I really like looking at it as, when we're clearing our body and allowing ourselves to connect with our own intuition, with our own truth, and not basing all of our decisions off of what somebody else, what a mentor, what our peers, what our parents, our friends think we should do. It allows us to move forward in life in a much more fulfilling way. And sexual energy is some of our most repressed energy on the earth. There's so much shame around it. There's so much guilt, so much of just like, you got to hide it and don't talk about it. Kind of same with money. And that's why a lot of times those two are super intricately linked, is because they're two things that culturally our society is like, no, that's rude. That's unprofessional. Don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And so liberating that is allowing ourselves to accept this part of ourselves that's so natural, that's so primal, that is absolutely essential. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our sexual energy. If we didn't have a natural drive to recreate, none of us would be here.
Yeah.
So it's like allowing ourselves to just accept that is like allowing another piece of our souls to come in and lock into place like a puzzle piece, so that we're able to receive everything that we're meant to receive here, because we're not saying, oh, well, I accept this part and this part and this part of me, but this part, lock that in a cage and throw it away and put it at the bottom of the ocean. Like that part's not okay. Because that's compartmentalizing part of what we can receive in our life, whether that's receiving love, receiving acceptance, receiving money, receiving whatever it is from ourselves and from other people in the world.
I love that. And I'd love to hear how you've applied these principles inside of your coaching business.
That's a really good question. What has that looked like? So many different things. It's looked like finding the courage to have some really tough conversations with our team and questioning ourselves and being like, is this really the truth? Is this ego? Where is this coming from? But being able to find ways to strip all of that down and be like, okay, no, this is my core. This is coming from inside of me. It's not coming from ego. It's not coming from people's judgments. This is the shift that needs to happen. And it's up to me to make this happen, even though that feels really hard. And similar with having difficult coaching conversations as well. And also using it for like creating new products and new offers and new marketing, new fun reels or something that my husband and I like to make a lot. Like just really playful, goofy, silly reels, or like making fun of certain archetypes of people.
Yep.
And a lot of that comes from those moments of inspired energy of like, maybe literally we did just have sex and it's like, oh my God, it'd be funny if we did this. And then that becomes a reel, or it becomes a new offer or an email or whatever it is.
I love that. And so you mentioned a team. I'm curious, is that within your coaching business or with the one inside the one with your husband?
With my husband, yeah.
Oh, okay. So bringing it back to Mariah has decided to come back online as a coach. You've been able to feel supported with the business that you have with your husband for a couple of years where you've sort of nurtured yourself and filled your own cup up. What did coming back online as a coach look like? And I'm trying to paint a picture for people who are like, I'm kind of new. So how can I, repeat the steps that Mariah has done to create the type of success that she has?
For sure. Yeah. A lot of it really looked like kind of rocky and taking little moments. I almost feel like the image of a newborn colt that's learning how to walk. It's like got these lanky legs and hasn't quite figured out how to work them yet, but it keeps trying. And coming back online, that's really what it felt like for me, was like I would take big strides of like, oh, I feel really confident this week. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to put myself out there and show up. And then the next week I would be really in self-doubt and insecurity and comparison, and I would hide. And then I would finally walk myself through it. I wasn't in the most supportive mentorship that I could have been at that time, just kind of in small or big group programs where it was easy to like hide and like not use my voice to speak up and ask for the support that I needed, and just sit in my own mind and blame myself. And so leading myself out of that spiral and kind of taking the big leap for signing up for a year-long one-on-one mentorship, because I knew that's the accountability I needed and the intimacy that I needed of like, it's just me and this person. If I'm not doing what I'm telling them I'm going to do, they're going to be like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What's going on? I can't hide.
Yeah.
And just knowing myself that was what I needed.
Yeah. I love that you're highlighting it's not a linear path. It's not always smooth. Sometimes it's super scary and we want to hide. And I'm curious, in the relaunch phase, the stepping out, continuing to make brave strides forward, what were some of the things that you tried that did not work? That you're like, don't do this, don't waste your time with this, or it didn't work for me? And then what were some of the things that started to actually move the needle?
I love that so much. Something that I like to say about everything, whether it's kind of funny, whether it comes to business or health or relationships, whatever, is just that for the most part, every strategy, every process can work, but it's like whatever you choose to make work for you is the thing that's actually going to work. And so I tried so many different things, and in a way that was part of my downfall, is that I already built a business with a system and a structure that I knew worked. But yeah, my ego, my mind is like, but what about this method? And what if I try that? And what if I try this? And so I spent months flip-flopping all over the place, trying so many different things. And then once I finally had some friends, some peers who are also business owners reflect back to me like, what are you doing? Like, you already made this. Why are you trying to recreate the wheel? Just do that again, but with your own business. It was like, oh, duh. That's been sitting right there the whole time.
100%.
So a couple of things that I
Talk
tried.
to me about. Oh, sorry, Mariah. I lost you for a second there. Talk to me about the power of being in a one-on-one mentorship.
Ooh. Wow. One-on-one mentorship feels, it feels like just having that like business bestie that I don't know about everybody else, but I always kind of dreamed for and wished for. I didn't, in the beginning, and even like the first many years of running multiple different businesses, I didn't really have people in person that were on the same path as me that I could talk to about this stuff. They were all online. And having a one-on-one mentor feels like, okay, I can talk to them about anything and everything. They're not going to judge me, guilt me, shame me the way that I might in my head to myself about the thoughts and feelings and questions that I'm having around like, well, I've done this before, so I should be here. And the expectations that we put on ourselves that we think are so realistic in our heads that when we have someone else who can reflect back to us like, okay, yes, you're amazing. You've done this in this way before, and this is brand new for you. Stop being so hard on yourself. Like, lighten up. Let it be fun again. And having somebody be able to kind of deepen with you over multiple months, that's something that I really, really value in life and in business, is just having people who are really committed long term. I don't typically have friendships that are like, oh, we're just friends for like a month or two, and then that's it. It's always like the lifers.
Yeah.
And that's really what I prefer with business as well.
Yeah, I think that's important to note for people who are listening that have only ever taken courses or been in group programs and haven't had the luxury of a one-on-one. It's a really potent container. And I think that if you are wanting to offer one-on-one coaching, there's nothing more valuable than understanding what that could look like by getting your own one-on-one coach, right? So I know that a lot of people, when they're first starting out, and even when maybe they've gotten some clients and they're plateauing, they're like, where do I get more clients? Like, that's the thing. How do I get more clients? So I'd love for you to peel back the curtain on funnels a little bit for people who don't have a funnel set up, and kind of talk about the magic of what a funnel can do. And when it feels like it's not working, what should you shift? What should you tweak?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Such a good question. I like to start with kind of the end in mind. And so thinking about like, what is the biggest, this is kind of a little bit of a client identification thing too, but thinking about like, okay, who is a client that I can get the absolute best, most mind-blowing results for? Because so often everybody's like, well, I can help people that are at the beginning of this journey. I can help people in the middle of the journey. I can help people who are years into their journey. And it's like, okay, but who can you actually provide like the best, most mind-blowing transformation for? And that's the only person to speak to. And then think about, what does that person need to just be informed that I'm here, that I can help them with this specific portion of their problem or desire, whatever it is that they're reaching for. And creating your I would say starting with creating a freebie. Doesn't matter if it's something audio, like a lot of my clients are healers and intuitives, so they'll do some sort of a guided meditation or visualization or healing practice. Or if it's a video, something we offer in our courses is mini courses. So it's like 3 parts, less than 10 minutes per video. And it's just giving people a tiny snippet of our overall process that we walk them through in our higher proximity containers.
Yeah.
And so giving people that little taste based on who specifically they are and what exactly their desire or problem is, like slightly solving that for them or completely solving it for them in something free, so that then you can have an email sequence that nurtures them that guides them through your other offers that are paid can really lead them through your entire offer suite as fast as they want to go.
So how do you help your clients get the people to find the freebie?
Oh, yeah.
They're
Posting
like, I
online.
have the freebie, but people don't know about it.
Yes. Posting online. Some of my clients are very open to doing some market research and kind of speeding up the process in that way. So looking at other people who are doing something similar and looking at, okay, what are the patterns in words that they're using, whether they're looking at people's podcasts, YouTube videos. So for some clients, doing that market research is helpful. And for other clients, they're more action takers and they're like, I'm just going to throw some stuff out there that I want to talk about and notice the patterns in my own content and adjust from there. And so that's actually what we did in the beginning, was we just put a bunch of content on YouTube talking about what we wanted to talk about. And then we started noticing patterns. It was like, okay, every time we talk about premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, and the number one, multiple orgasms for men, the views go crazy, comments go crazy, questions go crazy. It's like, okay, that's what people want. So even though we're teaching energy work and emotional clearing and nervous system practices, these tangible words are what people want. And so starting to create content specifically around that, and then bringing people in that way, really speaking to them from that empowered place of like, hey, I know you're here and life is good in all these different ways, and here's how it could be even better. Here's how it could be even more pleasurable.
Yeah.
Want the juice? Here you go.
I find so many people resist market research. I'm curious if you have clients that you're working with that experience, just like, I don't know where to go do it. I don't know how to invite someone into a conversation for market research. And yet it can be so valuable to go get this information so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I'm curious what advice you would give to people who are feeling resistance to it.
Yeah, something that I've done quite a few times is I actually have a template for my clients, and I just try to ask them, like, what is the path of least resistance when it comes to doing this market research? Like, would you rather just put a like Google form on your stories and have people fill that out so that you're not actually jumping on Zoom and having all these conversations, but you're still getting information? Would you rather do it through voice messages in DMs? Would you rather jump on Zoom? Would you rather meet up with people in person? Like, just finding a way where it's like, okay, there's no option. You're doing this. If we get to that point. Yeah. And how can we make it as enjoyable as possible?
I love that. It's going back to doing what feels good for you and creating your business around that versus comparing yourself to what other people are doing, falling into shoulding all over yourself. So along that same vein, I'm curious what you have done inside your coaching business since relaunching that is different than what you've did before, so that it does feel more in alignment with what Mariah wants and what brings her pleasure.
Yeah, a bit of human design has been super helpful for that. I am a Manny-Gen, and I know that frustration is my not self theme. So basically just in human design, there's certain feelings that can come up depending on what your profile is. And when I'm not acting from my highest self and like my highest leadership and authority and power, I feel frustrated. And that has become a trigger for me, that it's like, ooh, if I'm feeling frustrated, something has to change immediately. And it's almost become one of those things that like stops me in my tracks. I'm like cooking dinner and ruminating on something, and I'm like, I'm so frustrated. And then my mind goes, shit, what am I frustrated about? It's my responsibility to change it. Okay. Maybe I need to do the chi machine or let out some anger or whatever it is. Like, okay, it's time for a shift. So that's really my marker.
Yeah, I love that. And for people who want more information on human design, we have 2 incredible episodes with Melaine and Hannah. Yes, they're both awesome human design experts, so I'll link to those in the show notes as well. Mariah, it's so nice connecting with you. I wish that we could keep talking all day. If you could leave all of our new coaches with one piece of encouragement, what would it be?
Yes, it would be to trust your own intuition over everything else. That is something that has been a big lesson recently. And also something just reflecting back on my journey that it's like, wow, if I just trusted myself, what I thought would be the best way to do something, what I believed could be possible, that path might have been a little less bumpy.
Yeah, totally. Where can we go find you? Where can people get more of you?
I am mostly on Instagram at Hey Mariah Ann, and I have a fun email list where I send some nice, fun, long novels sometimes about different experiences in my life and things that I'm finding helpful at the moment. So those are the two main places.
I love that we have similar styles. I'm writing to my email list and just sharing in the most creatively inspired way possible is one of my favorite things. So we'll be sure to have your Instagram linked up, and I'm so grateful for you. It's so good to connect. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we got to connect.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. If you want to get access to all the resources that we shared, including the human design episodes with Hannah Becker and Elaine, then head over to theprofitablecoach.com/031. And big thank you to Mariah for coming on today's show. If you like this episode, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, let us know what you want to hear more of, and go connect with me on Instagram. I love hearing from the audience and really sourcing the topics that you guys want to see to make this the best possible show that it can be. So definitely tune in next week. We have one more episode in our 7-figure series. Sending you all big hugs and lots of success.